We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast, episode number 66. Welcome to the We Make Movies podcast, making the world a better place, one film at a time. And now, here are your hosts, otherwise known as the director, the actress, and who the hell is that guy? Chad, Michelle, and Garrett. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast, the podcast that's how to get your movie. It's all about how to get your movie made, how to get it seen by the people, and how to get it awesome. I am Ed Robinson. With me, as always, faithful co-hosts Chad Kukahiko and Michelle Lucadou, all of us independent filmmakers and members of the We Make Movies. And right off the bat, we have to tell you that my internet apparently sucks. Bug it all morning. That's part of the reason why we're late. So that's fun. Sorry if it sounds crappy, but how's it going, guys?
It's going well.
Good. I missed you guys last week.
Sorry. Jesus. I had it playing in my ear on a hidden window, so it was like totally blocking everything. I was like, gotta shut this down, gotta shut this down.
That was because I could actually hear that in the background.
You could? Oh no, sorry about that. I found it.
Yeah,
shut it down. All is well.
Huzzah.
I missed you guys last week.
We missed you too.
Yeah.
We should warn you guys that there's quite a lag happening today between Garrett and Michelle and I. So the conversation might be a little bit weird. Just bear with us and thank you very much.
I already did this morning.
Chad, Garrett, the conversation is always weird. It's Film Geeks. So, I mean,
That's true.
Right. I love it. All right, let's do it, people.
Tell you what, Chad, why don't you do community news and just call me in when it's my turn to do my first general news item.
You got it. No problem. So we have, as usual, if you guys could please definitely rate us on iTunes. If you want to comment, if you're watching this on YouTube, instead feel free to comment, and we can actually see your comments on the YouTube feed, and then we can actually address them live on the show. So feel free to do that. Definitely rate us. It helps us. It helps other people find shows like us, and that would be really, really awesome. We would love you very much.
Not necessarily on the quality of today's video, but
not necessarily.
On the quality of our brains and our hearts.
Overall, not on the technical quality of today's. Thank you very much, Michelle. This week, Wednesday, we have our regular writers' workshop happening at the Theater Asylum in Hollywood. Definitely come on down, see what all the noise is about. And that's like I don't know why. We were talking about Stomp earlier, and I've got the Stomp tagline stuck in my head. But definitely come and check it out. Check out why, 4,000 people in Los Angeles and Canada enjoy us and like us and want to be a part of our little party. So I think that's it for community news. So to you, Garrett.
All right, good. So I will get into my first general news item, and it's all like literally realized until I was done writing them. They're all about women in comic book, video games. It's all geek girl news for me this week, which, read into that what you will. But the first bit of news is that Warner Brothers has dropped an interesting and reassuring bit of Wonder Woman film, which is going to come out in 2017. So that's a ways off, but they're obviously working on it. They are specifically, they have named as a specific goal that they want a female director for the film, which is good. Like, I think that's perfect. A lot of people, actually, if you hang out on the internet much, have had attention on the lack of female superhero films for a while, and actually that's what my next segment is about as well, specifically a Black Widow movie. And I mean, they're right. It's been a boys' party with like very few girls allowed. So, DC look like they're trying to course correct for that, which is a decision that I think is the right decision, especially since they've been much worse about it than Marvel, which a lot of people don't think that's the case, but a lot of people tend to forget that DC has 30 years of films that are all male-led films, except for the Halle Berry Catwoman movie, which I think we'd all be better off pretending that never happened. So, and Marvel's got like, about a 10, or is it 10 or just less or just over? No names have been put out yet for the director, except that they mentioned as an aside that they'd love somebody like Michelle McLaren. But of course, I will keep an eye on it, and I will tell people as soon as whoever the director is, as soon as they are named, I will name them on the show.
Interestingly enough, the top 100 box office films in the past 10 years, I think until last year, so I think it goes until 2013, 4.4% of the top 100 box office films were directed by women. 4.4. That's
Nice.
kind of sad. It's not nice.
4.4%.
Well, actually, no, it is nice because the percentage of female directors helming big budget Hollywood films is less than that. It's like 2%. So they're doubling the representation. So it's good for the individual directors, sad for the state of the industry as a whole. That's my viewpoint on that.
I mean,
that's my silver lining.
Well, that makes more sense. I mean, but indie films, like there's smaller films, independent films, there are a lot more female directors. I'm looking at a stat right now. The directors at Sundance, 23.9% of the directors at Sundance were females.
Oh, wow.
So
awesome.
we're going somewhere-ish.
Yeah, for sure.
Motion.
Michelle?
It's what?
I said, Michelle, would you like to jump into your thing?
I would love to. Speaking of film festivals, HBO, after HBO announced their streaming service, and CBS is now offering streaming all their content for $6 a month. I don't know if you guys saw that, but the film circuit has jumped on the streaming bandwagon. Tribeca Film Festival and Lionsgate have hopped in bed together to announce the Tribeca Shortlist, which is a subscription streaming service where you can watch some of their titles. The films are curated by Tribeca, and they're changed on a weekly basis, and should be launched in like the first half of 2015. I think it's great. I think it's cool that it's curated by the Tribeca folks, because I know we've talked about that there's so much, the film industry is so saturated right now that it's kind of cool to have somebody look through all of the shit and go, oh, these 10 films are really great, you should watch them. So less options, more quality. Thumbs up.
Word. Sounds good.
More internet streaming. I like it.
Interesting that you talk about streaming because most of my reports are about streaming today, but it's about music, believe it or not. So following in the digital footsteps of Netflix, Sony's, PlayStations of various numerals, and digital TVs, Spotify has created a shared account option for groups of people who'd like to sign up as a family and save a little money. It's an interesting it's a very interesting move and potentially really smart, particularly for and it could be really nice for consumers of music. I imagine it could also be good news for artists as well, though I'm not entirely certain, because they basically get, I mean, according to some, I don't think they release the exact numbers or how they come about it, but there was one artist recently, I think it was about a year ago, who shared all of her information and how much money she made versus the plays, and it came out to basically a fourth of a penny per play on Spotify. So if more, half pennies, if more plays equals more half pennies, then that means obviously the more plays they get, the better the artists are going to do. So that it could be a smart move. I mean, the reason why I think, I have no particular proof of this because, and by the way, Spotify is not the only player in the field. There's actually, they're definitely the big dog at the moment, because they've got about 10 million paid subscribers plus all the ad revenues that they're getting from free listeners, and but you have the newish iTunes Radio that helps kind of add value to iTunes Match, which I have, but I've never used the radio. I don't particularly know why. But then you got Google Play, you got Pandora, you got Rhapsody, Grooveshark, Deezer, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and there's so many more. Like there are so many music streaming sites and apps and everything. So even if they're the top dog, I'm sure what they want to do is kind of make a move to make sure they maintain their dominance. And I think if they're the first people to add this particular feature, I think that they could do that. Obviously, if you have current customers combining their accounts, and so Spotify would be losing that little bit of money. But I think that they'll end up getting more subscribers. I mean, I'm even thinking about subscribing. I barely use Spotify as it is, but I was like, maybe I should start using it now. So I don't know. We'll see. Only time will tell. And as usual, if I hear anything, I will let you all know.
Party.
That's super interesting. Party on with.
So genuine.
I wish if you were watching.
We're so reserved. We're both like terrified of. We're all just like,
The lag.
because of the lag.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. I'll start mine then. Let's just do that. So, so a lot of people online, especially on Tumblr, where I spend a lot of my time, are upset, shall we say, about the lack of a Black Widow movie, continuing on the theme of girls in comic book films. Women, what? As opposed to girls?
Let him
So,
finish.
I think I might have. I think I might have figured out why we don't have a Black Widow movie, and it's not just because she's a woman, at least not entirely. We all know that Marvel didn't really expect the huge success of the first Iron Man film, and that's why they didn't lock Robert Downey Jr. into a multi-film contract beforehand. And once the film did blow up, they started locking all future Marvel film actors into contracts for 3 films at least, 6 films if they could get them. Robert Downey Jr. locked into this date, and that's why he was paid $50 million for Iron Man 3, and why he will be paid $40 million in Captain America 2. That's right, he's being paid probably more than Chris Evans to be a supporting character in a Chris Evans movie. So, think about it this way. Black Widow has already been in 4 movies. Sorry, the Avengers 2 is her 4th movie as Black Widow, coming out very soon. We're probably coming close to the end of Scarlett Johansson's contract. So if they start a franchise with her right now, right after Avengers, and it blows up and it's just huge, screwed when the contract runs out, and all of a sudden they need to negotiate a new contract, and she is now a big name, and she can say, well, I want $40 million per film. So my prediction is that we will finish Scarlett Johansson's contract as Black Widow, and then they will negotiate a new contract, and that new contract will begin with a Black Widow solo movie and roll out from there. Thoughts?
I don't know if
And
we
then
should
there was
have a deep conversation, but this is something from Matthew Hunt. No downloading while broadcasting, Garrett. So you have to stop downloading that goat porn and let's focus.
Nice.
Yeah, so there it is.
I think that's kind of genius, Garrett. I never thought about that. That sounds like a completely plausible idea that most people don't think about. Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no thoughts on it. I wish I did, but
I just want to be his agent.
honestly, I'm just
agent.
I'm just completely shell shocked over the lag. I'm just in total fear of the lag and us having a conversation and then it just failing. So why don't we just jump into Michelle's next, if that's okay?
I'm going to go burn down my local Time Warner business. No, I'm not really. But the last thing I want to say is that it makes sense to me because above all, film studios, very much including Marvel, are money-making machines. So knowing how badly people want a Black Widow movie, I can't think of another reason that makes sense with the fact that really they're just in it to make money.
Yeah,
so
Black Widow is also not a huge property. There isn't a huge. I mean, you know what I mean? She's not an enormous.
In the comics, she's pretty big, and Scarlett Johansson has already proven herself to be a box office draw because with Lucy, which is a mediocre film at best, that still made $500,000 internationally, which the first Captain America movie didn't even make $500,000 internationally.
I'm sorry, not $500,000. Because $500,000 is not a lot of money.
Okay, but that being said, we'll move on.
But largely, here's the thing about Here's the thing about that, though. It's like I'd say the largest percent of it was international. Scarlett Johansson is like a mediocre box office draw in America, but internationally she's huge. So,
Is that
but yeah.
true? I
hmm
don't know that. Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, for the record, Matthew Hunt would play Iron Man for half that. You know,
Oh,
Matthew, I
shoot.
will let the producers know.
We'll
I'm
pass
sure
that
they're going to be
on.
knocking down your door. Yes, I will forward that on to the responsible parties.
Yeah. Speaking of distraction, okay, so mine has my next news item has something to do with film, but it has something to do with like me in film and people film. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so I get distracted like like really easy, like shiny, or Facebook, whatever. The problem is when I'm doing things like when I'm reading scripts, when I'm working on sides, when I'm dealing with Kickstarter stuff, when I'm producing, everything is on my computer. My auditions, my writing projects, my spreadsheets, but also my Facebook Messenger ads, pop-ups for shoes on Amazon, and I get distracted easily. So there's an app for that. It's called Freedom. The app is called Freedom. Freedom literally locks you away from the internet so you can be productive. It's really kind of cool. It is $10. It's a problem, but $10 is, I think, worth the freedom. You set the amount of time that you want to work, and it makes you work. So I think it's kind of awesome. There's
$10
also
instead of just turning off your damn browser. You can turn your browser off for free.
you can turn your browser off, but there's other stuff. Like it basically like will lock you out of it. Like you can always turn your browser back on. So
That's hilarious.
it's like mommy like no.
Self-control.
Yes, like me. So anyway, there's also like a great discussion about it for like other ideas to increase creative productivity away from the internet on nofilmschool.com. It's really interesting. So if you go to No Film School, it's one of my favorite websites. Check it out. It's fun. Like everybody has a really great different idea about how to stay productive in like this crazy creative industry where there's so many distractions. Now, if I had an app to make my husband stop bugging me, that'd be a whole other story.
There's actually a great book called The War of Art by one of my favorite authors, Stephen Pressfield. He's really good for two different types of books. Books that basically help you manage your creativity and stay on track and stuff like that. And then completely separate from that, books of what do you call it? Historical fiction based primarily in the ancient Greek world because he's a scholar on that stuff. I've met him actually. He's a really, really nice guy. Lives in Santa Monica and has started his own publishing company. At least he had, years ago when I met him. You should check that out. The War of Art. I've heard a lot of really good things about it, and it's really. I think he was giving it away for free at first on Kindle, but check it out. It's really cool.
As far as it's interesting as far as memorization is concerned and overall creativity. If I'm doing a mindless task, I'm much more focused. Like I memorize lines best when I'm folding laundry. I read scripts best when I'm folding laundry.
I always used to memorize scripts, not by memorizing scripts per se, but like kind of going through it, like kind of rehearsing it. That's how I always did it best.
Yeah, but for like most TV stuff, you get it the day before, so you have to like shove it in your brain and then figure shit out.
Do you find that casting directors nowadays really require you to have it completely memorized?
Absolutely.
That's so weird. I don't like that. I mean, as a director, I really don't. Because I found whenever actors have memorized their stuff before I've had a chance to work with them, it's about 2 to 3 times more difficult to get them to do what I want them to do, and I hate that. So I would prefer it if they still are a little loose with it. I don't even mind if they go off. If they get words wrong here and there, that's less important. But I mean, obviously, as the director, I'm sure the writer cringes, but when I'm directing something, I just want the freedom. I hate it when actors have like, oh no, we went off and rehearsed on our own. I'm like, don't do that. And then they come in and it's like I can't. It's like it's not that they suck, but they're not doing they're not bringing the moments that I really need them to bring, and it's like I rehearsed you, I cast you for a reason, but not anyway. So that's my point. I hate the casting directors do that. I hate that at some point when I'm going to be, but I'm not going to say there is a level of actor that I feel like I'm starting to be able to get to as a director, and that's kind of a whole other can of worms. I mean, once you can work with actors at a certain level, it doesn't fucking matter. I mean, honestly, they're so good that anyway. So I should probably go on to mine before it goes too long. That's funny. So as you've heard by now, and I'm sure not just from us, Netflix has teamed with Marvel to bring 4 different TV shows. They did it, I think, a year ago, Comic-Con. I can't remember. Anyway, and a miniseries based on Marvel comic properties. And as I've said many times before, one of those shows is going to be Daredevil. In fact, the reason I'm talking about this right now is that photos from the shoot were released really recently, and they got me pretty psyched, but they also kind of scared me because as excited as I am, I can't deny that, Ben Affleck's awful Daredevil already came out and just really crushed my comic book world. Daredevil, if you've never listened to this before, is my favorite Marvel hero. I love he's and Elektra and the whole world he's in.
Excuse me for a minute. Ben Affleck?
Yeah. What did I say? Matt Affleck? Did I say?
No, you said Ben Affleck, like it was
Ben
a word.
Affleck. Ben Affleck. Yeah. Ben Affleck. Am I saying it wrong? Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck.
Chad likes to hold charity Ben Affleck concerts.
That's right. Anyway, obviously Netflix does House of Cards. They do Orange is the New Black. Both fantastic shows. But then, The Killing's 4th season was really underwhelming. I mean, the first couple episodes were great, but then the way they wrapped it up was just so. It was awful. I really did not like it. Kendall liked it. My girlfriend liked it, but I just did not like it. So I'm really hoping, really hoping they didn't bite off more than they can chew. I mean, 4 different TV shows plus a miniseries. Daredevil's supposed to be coming out in May of 2015, and I'm just between now and then, like every day, I'm going to be praying that they are definitely going more House of Cards, Orange is the New Black than Ben Affleck's awful turd. Be saying many prayers to the gods of comics in the meantime.
Best of luck with that. Daredevil deserves a good representation in film and television.
So why does your internet suck, Garrett?
I'm going to get into my main topic because we need to move on because I can't actually talk about anything that anybody else is saying. God damn it. So Gamergate escalated this week, and consequently I need to talk about it again. We all thought we were done. We're not. Basically, the tipping point this week, and what I hope is the nail in the coffin, is that this week Felicia Day finally posted about Gamergate. There is nobody more qualified to talk about Gamergate than Felicia Day. She makes her entire life on video games. She is the quintessential geek girl. In fact, in many ways, she's like a bona fide Greek goddess. Geek goddess. She's so representative of gaming culture and women in gaming. So she posted on her Tumblr about how she's finally talking about it, and this whole time she's been terrified of the entire Gamergate saga, and how she's been afraid that if she even mentions it, if she even writes the words, then she will become a target, just like so many other women in gaming have become targets. And the difference for her is that she has already been stalked. She has already had crazy people come to her personally and contact her, and has had to do, restraining orders and move and change her phone and all this sort of stuff. And she was afraid to invite that again and to have her personal details leaked online. So, and that is to her indicative of what Gamergate has become, and so on and so forth. So she just asked for a ceasefire of harassment of women in gaming, and for gamers to just be cool, because it is our industry. We love it, and we are making it not a cool place to be with everything that's happening in Gamergate. And within an hour of her making this post, somebody posted her home address, her email, and her personal phone number in the comments of that very blog post online.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this has opened more people's eyes up to what Gamergate is really about. So let's recap. Gamergate began with Adam Baldwin tweeting it in relation to a series of videos about Zoe Quinn and the Quinspiracy, as it's now called. But Gamergate as a movement began with a small cabal of 4chan users who began a campaign of harassment against Zoe Quinn, including these videos that Adam Baldwin tweeted, after Zoe's bitter ex-boyfriend posted about her having an affair. That campaign of harassment swiftly expanded to Anita Sarkeesian, Brianna Wu, and a number of other prominent females in gaming. Now, at the same time, these same 4chan users were posting and collaborating on 4chan that they needed to mask their harassment as a campaign for journalistic integrity in gaming, or they would look like the bad guys. And they also posted, and all this stuff. Sorry?
Sorry. I said which they are.
Which they are. Yes. And they also posted, and all of this is extremely well documented, they also posted that they needed to get women and the LGBT community to ally with them with the hashtag #NotYourShield movement so that they looked semi-legitimate, aka the "I'm not racist, some of my best friends are black" argument. And they enlisted a lot of people to say that they were not the gaming journalism, they were not gaming journalism's shield, ironically making themselves the shields of the Gamergate movement itself. So now, many gamers in the debate are united behind this front of journalistic claim. That's what Gamergate is about. But all we need to do, we need to see that Gamergate is not about that and has never been about that since it began. Because, and you don't need to look any farther than the fact that the only things the Gamergate movement has ever achieved, the only things they've ever done, are intense online harassment of women. Those are the only achievements they can list that are connected in any way to the Gamergate movement. There has been no concerted, coordinated push against journalistic corruption. There's just a vague statement that journalistic corruption is a bad thing. Well, great. When you state that your goals are one thing, but the only actual demonstrable achievements that you have are intensely unpleasant, illegal streams of harassment and attacks against women, nobody's going to believe that your goal is really this other thing. So now, many gamers swayed by this whole journalistic integrity thing have said that the people doing the harassing aren't really Gamergaters and don't represent the movement. But that argument completely breaks down because so-called real Gamergaters aren't doing anything to combat the harassment. And because they aren't, they are enjoying the benefits of that harassment, which is women being afraid to speak out against Gamergate, as could not be more clearly demonstrated by Felicia Day. She and other people like her are afraid to speak about the movement for fear of being attacked, and their lack of speaking out about it is benefiting everybody. Everybody in the Gamergate community, whether you are actually in it for journalistic integrity or you are one of the harassers. So here's the deal. Campaigning for journalistic integrity is a good thing, especially in gaming. The gaming industry in terms of journalism is corrupt. But if you want that movement to happen, it needs to be a new movement. The flag that is being flown, the Gamergate hashtag, has never stood for anything other than the horrible effects that it has created in so many people's lives. The actual target of journalistic integrity is not being addressed. There are major, specific examples, like the Warner Brothers brand deal on the recent Shadow of Mordor game. All these specific things that the Gamergate community as a whole is not addressing, is not doing anything about, and all they can say that they've actually done is this horrible, horrible crap. So we need to move on, guys. This is just my
One
call to
question.
the world.
Garrett, I have a question.
Yes.
You first. Go.
How do you feel about Gamergate?
I have a real question, Garrett. I have not had the opportunity to follow this much, but are these particular? Is this group of 4chan users? Do any of them actually have the balls to say who they really are? Are they just using their 4chan handles?
Nope, totally just using their 4chan handles.
See that right there, that is the most discrediting thing about the whole thing. I mean, even that idiot who started the whole cancel Colbert thing, at least she had the balls to say who she was. I mean, that's the most hilarious thing about this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not like I said, I'm not studying this in great detail, so I don't know a ton about it. But but from the stuff that I have seen and from the stuff that is, coming into my circle through my friends and family, it's just makes me sick to my stomach. And I think that what it seems like is it seems like somebody is like molesting children under the guise of protecting children. You know what I mean? It's like you're doing something so much worse. I mean, yes, that's an awful analogy. I had no time to put it together. But my point is you're committing awful things, but you're doing it, and then you're saying, oh, hey, we're doing this actually for a good reason. You know what I mean? And it's just so fucking disingenuous. And I think that, I mean, the only reason I haven't been getting involved, honestly, the only reason I haven't even wanted to get into it is because it just seems like trolling to me. It honestly just seems like trolling, but it's trolling to the point where, because my rule is always don't feed the trolls, which is why I'm trying to get as uninvolved as humanly possible. But it's getting to the point at this where it should be against the law what they're doing. What they are doing, doxing people, is not cool. I don't know if it's illegal, but it should be.
Yeah. I'll give you what I think is a slightly more apt analogy. It's hey, that's kids knocking at my door. It's not. I don't want to make a false comparison, and I don't want to be insensitive towards this other issue, but it's very similar in many respects. And I read an excellent breakdown of this online. It's very similar to the way that the KKK operated at one point. The masks make it so that everybody's anonymous, and with the masks, you can do the most horrible, the most terrible. I mean, back then it was actually killing people, so that's where the comparison breaks down. Obviously, actual people died, actual homes were destroyed, and thankfully there has not been actual violence, but there have been extremely real threats of violence that the FBI has taken as terrorist threats.
Wow.
But you are able to put on the complete mask off as the violence that these people are. I know, I'll go handle that in a sec. You can say, I completely deplore the violence these people are doing, but they've got some pretty good points about whatever the hell it is. So anyway, that's why I'm super pissed off about it. I'm going to go clear out my office door.
Yeah. Michelle?
Yeah, there are a lot of I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I guess we should probably move on.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that sensationalistic journalism is propagated by the masses. I think that the Renee Zellweger picture that came out this week is on everyone's Facebook. Oh my God, she got Botox, whatever she got. I don't even know. I don't care. All of her past things that she's done, like the fact that she's an amazing actress and all these things are completely eclipsed by the fact that she, oh my gosh, got work done on her face. I'm not saying that Gamergate is right. Absolutely not. I'm not saying I think it's awful. I think it's an atrocity. I think it's a bunch of cowards that are feeding on the whatever. Anyway. But the problem is, even if they were for journalistic integrity, the fact of the matter is that is a much less interesting story than they gave everyone Felicia Day's address and phone number.
Yeah, that's disgusting. So, I mean, especially if she's had problems with stalkers already. It's unconscionable. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just like, and I'm sorry, but I don't entirely think that the media can be blamed for this because it's What we're not talking about the media here. We're talking about regular people. You know what I mean? This is not. If I mean, listen, my brother worked in the news for a long time, and you know that saying, "If it bleeds, it leads." That is the news. That's the news. It is what it is. That's how it will. That's how it is. That's how it will always be. But this is regular people we're talking about. We're talking about people on their Twitter feeds. We're talking about people in their social networks, and that's where it gets disgusting. And that's why it's like, I hope it just blows over at some point, because I really, really think at the heart of this, if they're anonymous, they're just trolls. I'm sorry. That's it, and they should just crawl back under the rock in which they came from.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my
The only problem is the
I think it's great.
get a lot of attention by threatening an actual massacre and naming the weapons and bombs that you're going to come in. Anita Sarkeesian was supposed to speak at the University of Utah, I want to say, and there was an actual threat that some guy emailed her and a bunch of different gaming websites and the FBI and said, I'm going to come in with automatic weapons and bombs, and I'm going to create a Montreal-style massacre in this auditorium if Anita Sarkeesian is allowed to speak.
Well, that is illegal, and I hope that they catch that guy.
Yeah, totally. But, like, this is just another 4chan user. Like, that's the thing, is that when trolling gets to that level, you can no longer just say...
No, that's not trolling. Yes, that's my point. Is like, yeah, the level at which the authorities need to be pulled in on something. That's, yeah, absolutely.
And that's been going on anyway. We should...
Yeah, Michelle.
Yeah, we could talk about it forever. Well, I have a seasonal topic. I wanted to talk about genre. I want to talk about horror. I want to talk about Halloween, which is my favorite holiday. Halloween is my favorite holiday by far. So I've been watching some fun older horror flicks, and I'm wondering, because, in the producing world and in the indie film world, everyone is like, you should do a horror flick. That'll get funded. There's so many horror fans. Like, that's the genre where all the money is. So I'm wondering, like, why? Why are horror fans so loyal? Like, why is horror, or actually, like, sci-fi for that matter too, like, there's some pretty loyal sci-fi folks. Why is it, like, specifically a niche, like, genre? Like, I mean, action movie flicks aren't, like action movie fans aren't specifically, like, into action movies. They don't just go to action flicks and give all their money to action flicks and go to action flick festivals. And heaven knows, like, chick flick folks don't, like, go out for chick flick, like, conventions. Like, what is it about scary movies that, like, brings people together?
I don't know if it's...
specifically know, but I have some ideas.
Sorry.
No, it's here. I have ideas. So I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say first.
Well, I don't think that it's necessarily a matter of them being any more loyal than anybody else, but what it is that I think that they're more willing. I mean, yes, they can be, especially the hardcore ones, can be really rabid, but they're also very forgiving. So action movies, for instance, they're not cheap. Horror movies you can make for next to nothing, and people are willing to.
Well, you can make a chick flick for way less money than you can make a horror film. Like, you remember how much those intestines were? Like, come on, like, that shit's expensive.
Yeah, but chick flicks, I mean, you really think there's anything? I mean, I don't have a vagina, so I can't.
I don't know. I
hate
chick flicks. I hate them.
Well, there you go.
I'm just saying.
No redeeming qualities whatsoever. I mean, but except Sex and the City. I mean, that's
not a chick flick.
I don't know what it is, but it's as close. And they're rabid. You know what I mean? The fans of that show are very, they're rabid.
I enjoy Sex and the City, I will say. Like, I am a Sex and the City fan. But that is not a chick flick at all. I'll tell you what that is. That is chick porn. That is fashion porn.
That is porn.
It is fashion porn. It is like, oh my God, what kind of Manila Blahniks is she wearing today? It has nothing to do with the fact that they have any romantic interest in something else. The other reason people watch Rain, it is chick flick, medieval fashion porn.
I want to offer a theory, which is that on chick flicks specifically, it's very hard to market and specifically merchandise outside of the film itself. In other words, in a horror convention, and like I'm coming slowly to realize that, like, merchandising is actually huge in so many things. But in a horror convention, for example, you can have people dress up like Freddy or Jason or da 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 da. at a theoretical chick flick convention, are people going to dress up like Ryan Gosling from The Notebook, who's dressed exactly like every other man and every other, like there's no opportunities. It's inviting the viewer to contribute in the art, either with fan art or fan fiction or cosplay or whatever it is. When you invite that contribution, that's when you get the really, really rabid fans, as opposed to rom-com, which is much more, here is a story, now go home and sob into your pillow. Like,
I want to say,
think.
I want to talk about, we're getting tons of comments from Matt Hunt, and they're very cool, very funny. But unfortunately, I would be posting them more if they were like, I don't know what this means. But
Right.
but they're also, I'm not seeing them, unfortunately, until we've already moved off the topic. So Matthew, thank you for commenting. Keep commenting. The only reason we're not bringing them up is because A, either I don't know what you're talking about, or B, we've moved on to the next topic. So, but
if you
keep
could
doing it
please
anyway.
include the question in your answer somehow, that would be fantastic.
Somehow, yes.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I'm just going to go back. I'm just going to say, Garrett, may I recap? You are saying that the reason horror fans are so loyal, or the reason that, specifically in the indie film world, horror films are much more easily funded and much more well attended, is because of merchandising?
Because merchandising is a subset of like a broader category of something that I don't really think there's a term for, but it is the ability to invest yourself further in the story. Like, we need a single word for that. I don't know if it's relatability or immersibility or something like that,
well,
but in horror,
there's value to what I agree with what you're saying, because I mean this is, and let me, if I may, I think elaborate on it, is that okay, when you want to get, there's a lot of financiers that I've met in town that they're like, they don't even want to talk to you unless you're talking 40 million up. That's it, because, and I don't know the particular reasons except that the smaller movies don't really make money. Horror's a different world, because it's not even necessarily that they are super rabid or there's so many of them, except to say that there is a niche and there is a loyal niche. And it's not necessarily an enormous niche, but it's a forgiving niche, and it's one that, yeah, you can, they will have, like a buddy of mine did a movie called Kolobos back in the, I think, the 90s, and it was and that kind of got him into that world. He was already a fan of that world, always had all the figurines and stuff like that. But you don't have to make, like, financiers, if they're in the horror world, are willing to do things. And I think maybe that's been kind of started by, what's his name, by that schlock guy who's hired everybody and helped them get big. If you remember his name, I don't know, but maybe that's kind of where it all started. But I think that's what it is that there's a niche. It's not necessarily huge, but they are loyal and they like what they like, and they fund Bloody Disgusting and Fangoria and all these different websites. It's just a very lively niche, I would say.
Yeah. So
there.
All right, so I'm going to move on to
do
mine, since this has clearly run its course. So this is definitely a music week for me, because here's the next thing that I'm telling you about, besides the Spotify thing. 2014 is likely to be the first year ever with 0 platinum albums.
Wow.
According to the site Death and Taxes, the RIAA, Recording Industry Association, I don't know, say Association of America, are not going to, unless Beyonce on her self-titled album and Lorde in the next couple of months can sell another 200,000 albums, not one album is going to go platinum this year. And in case you don't know, that means that you have to sell 1 million albums to go platinum. Singles are obviously going platinum. In fact, I think they're going platinum more than they have in the past. But albums, not so much. I don't think 10 years ago anybody could have seen this coming. I mean, the onset of streaming music, honestly, has only been since 2009, so it's only been about 5 years. And that was, I think, it's taken a lot of people by surprise, as I was mentioning with Spotify. At least I think I was mentioning that. But to think it would get here is kind of incredible. I mean, the drop off has been really, really fast. So just to put it into perspective, Adele sold 18 million copies of her album 21 in 2011, the year 2011, which was still the best-selling album the next year in 2012 with another 8.3 million sales. But then in 2013, One Direction sold 4 million copies of Midnight Memories, and this year, nothing, not one. And I mean, unless, like I said, Beyonce and Lorde can pull it out in the last couple of months, none. The music industry by no means appears to remain constant. I mean, the number of, the fact that Adele sold 18 million copies in 2011 we haven't had that many sales in a long time. So it's always goes in waves. But this doesn't, I mean, I think the streaming factor is really changing the game in a big way for a lot of people. It's changing it a lot, and it's changing it really, really quickly. And I think the labels are probably really crapping their pants right now. So where will this all lead? I don't know. I mean, I have no idea if the labels are somehow going to be able to pivot and get more of a share on their artists from Spotify's and Groove Sharks and all these streaming services that are out there now, because that's really seems to be where the money is. I think I read somewhere that it was like 70% of all like listened to music is happening through streaming. I don't know if I misread that. I just skimmed over it and didn't get back. But that's fascinating. I mean, the way that streaming has changed. So I mean, what's funny is that I thought the things that were happening in the music industry were already done. But the streaming game changer has really changed a lot. And whether it's going to turn out good for artists or not, I don't know, But if I do, I will obviously let you in on it. This is my beat.
What would be your prediction? I mean, it seems, I mean, from my humble opinion, it seems like that the film trajectory and the music trajectory are really kind of going along a parallel axis, like regardless of whether one's going further than the other. But like, do you think that we're going towards streaming films and streaming music? Is it?
Well, there's like this meme going around that the film industry is always 7 years behind the music industry lately. So the reason being that the bandwidth. I mean, a song is obviously you can get it really quick. And they're so much shorter, and there are things that happen in the background. Watching a film, a TV show is much more intense. So I don't know if that gap is kind of closing up. But I mean, that's definitely more something I'm interested in. I don't know. I mean, I think that, I only stream movies now. You know what I mean? I don't get DVDs, and I don't read hardcover books anymore. I download all my books. So I can't really personally be a gauge of that. Obviously, I do study it to some degree. I don't know yet what this particular development, the effect will be on film. But honestly, it's kind of only recently got on my radar. So believe me, now moving forward, I'm going to be paying more attention.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. I think we're moving to the cloud, but physical media will never entirely die. Just like LPs, it's just they're not. They're a specialty, a collector's thing.
LPs all the time.
Sorry?
Yeah. Music supervisor I said even DJs aren't using vinyl so much anymore. I mean, occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Cool. Should we move on to the things now?
Yes. Let's.
I just want to tell people. Yeah, I just want to tell people about a cool thing that is relatively recent from Amazon and could be a really good thing for authors like me. It's called Kindle Unlimited. It's a new program. It's $9.99 a month, and you get unlimited reading. It's for a specific body of titles, of independent titles. But I have started putting titles into the Kindle Unlimited pool. A lot of other big indie authors are doing that. So if you want a sort of Netflix-type program for books, you might want to consider checking it out. It's kind of cool.
Yay! My turn. So if you're in the LA area, I am doing a show, like on a stage, like not on a screen. And it is the stage version of Big Fish. I don't know if you guys saw the Tim Burton film. but I'm playing the Helena Bonham Carter role. And it's at Musical Theater West in Long Beach, and it's a beautiful show. It's ridiculously beautiful, amazing, lots of ridiculously talented people doing it. Specifically, Larry Carpenter is directing. He's amazing. Peggy Hickey is choreographing. Anyway, it's a great, amazing show. If you're in LA, the LA area, from November 1st through the 16th, you can come see it. You can get tickets at www.musical.org. So
Awesome.
party
Musical?
on.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Musical.org.
Before I do mine, I just want to show Matt one of Matt Hunt's last comments because this cracks me up. That is it, guys. A chick flick horror. Let's do it. Mwahaha. Oh my God, you are wearing those shoes. You must die. I think that's hilarious.
That's amazing.
That's incredible.
It's like a Sex in the City, but then everybody gets killed, and then it'd be like, ah! Someone gets like a Manolo Blahnik, like spike heel, like in the head, like.
Did you see Vincent D'Onofrio's musical horror? It's a real thing. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life. It is so bad. If you feel like torturing yourself one night, rent it. It is awful.
But sometimes bad is good.
This was not there. This was not there. Trust me. It's anyway. So my thing to know is two movies, Fury and John Wick. I saw them both this week. I enjoyed them both. I suggest you see them. John Wick was very fun. I was lucky enough to see it, and there was a Q&A with Keanu Reeves and the two directors, producer, and the writer. They were all, I swear to God, I could have like jumped up and touched them. If you're on my Facebook, you can see I took a picture, and then afterwards I noticed that the shadow of my head is also in the photo. But that's not why I'm blown. I liked it. It's good. It actually is good. It's actually fun. You know, it's not. Neither of them are so amazing that I'm like raving about them. I'm not. I don't want you to expect too much. They're entertaining. They exceeded my expectations, but I don't want to oversell them. Just don't expect too much, and I guarantee you will enjoy your evening.
That's like maybe the worst endorsement in the world.
I wouldn't call it an endorsement even. I wouldn't
much, and you'll love it.
I wouldn't
Damning with faint praise.
I would just say it's it's all right. Go see it. You'll have fun. It's better than a kick in the ass.
Awesome. All right. Well, I want to apologize for a very rough show because of the internet lag and speed and everything like that. I figured out mid-show why it's happening, and I will make sure it's fixed for next week. It's kind of annoying. But with that, I will call an end to this week's podcast. Thank you very much, Matt, for tuning in with all of your live comments.
Welcome.
I'm Garrett. Whoops, that's the wrong one. I'm Garrett. You can find me at garrettbrobinson.com. Michelle is on Twitter at mlukedo, and Chad is over at superfreako.com. We'll see you next week. I promise we'll be better. Goodbye.